Valentina Sola, 16717 Northeast 35th Avenue. One of the ladies just said that she didn't want to bring her children here, but I completely disagree with that because I believe that children should state what they believe in, and I believe then that there shouldn't be a club right next to Miami Gymnastics. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody else in the audience? Last chance. Okay. Seeing nobody else to speak, we're going to close public hearing, and that will be it for the evening. This will have some board discussion. Let me just start with a couple questions to staff. On Ms. Martin, I had spoken to you before on the distance measurement of the property, and the legend that you have, the 1,500-foot buffer drawing. The distance goes from the corner of the building, and I understand that when you do a distance for a variance waiver, it's as the crow flies from the property line. So technically, I would say that this distance drawn from the building is incorrect. It should really be much further south to the parking lot, because that is part of the exception. It is part of the club. It's catty corner, and you're looking at about another 200 feet less. Whether that's going to matter to anybody, I don't know, but I think the distance is really closer to maybe 600 feet as opposed to 873.
The parking is off-site parking.
It's part of the lease, and that's where the patrons are going to be parking.
But it's not part of the license premises.
Yes, it is.
No, that's not going to be the license
The special permission was
premises.
heard, and it was heard, and they were granted a special permission because they needed the parking, and the lease and the application had both parcels.
That's a separate parcel, and
It's part of the lease.
It was shown to indicate where the parking is going to be, and that's
But they
not
could
part.
not have. But they could not have gotten the exception.
That's not
without
part of the
parking.
licensed premises. There's
Okay,
no
but it's-
alcoholic beverages served on those premises or consumed on those
Okay, but
premises.
you
It would
still,
be
it's
the-
not from the building. It's from the park. It's from the property line, I believe. And this picture is showing from the building. So, and I think part of the purpose is not only where it's going to be served. What people are not understanding is what happens in a building. Definitely is somebody's personal privilege, but when people leave the building and they have been drinking and they have been exposed to nudity, they are coming out of the building and they are going into the neighborhood. They are going into the parking lot, and I'm really questioning whether the parking lot, which is part of the application, which is part of the package, where the patrons are definitely going to walk, that boundary should be where the distance is from. I don't know that it's a issue to this board, but I'm bringing that up because I think that distance is much closer than 873. Next, the distance, notice of distance. Please let me just go through my questions, and then you can speak, and I will be done. The notice to neighboring property owners. What is the requirement that we give to?
Well, it's not actually a requirement either. The code says we may give mailed notices to everyone within 500 feet. Actually, the only actual requirement is that we advertise it in the newspaper. So we really go above and beyond by doing the notices and by, having those signs made up, which they have to pay for. They have to pay for the notices, the applicant, and they have to pay for the signs. But those two items are not a requirement. Only the advertisement in the paper.
In the Daily Business Review of this article, when we are doing a variance for alcohol waiver, do we not have to notice the apartment building that is the subject of the variance?
No.
We don't have to do that. Okay. One last thing I'm going to say. I'm going to open it up. You all talk. A lot of mention has been made that other variances have been granted. I've sat on this board for about 13, 14 years, and I've always been advised that variances are granted on a case-by-case basis, and other variances do not create a precedence. That's number one. So we can't go by the fact that we give a lot of variances, and we've given probably way too many. However, we have given a lot of variances to restaurants, a few small nightclubs. We have, number one, never given a variance to a adult entertainment club serving alcohol. This is the first in our city, and I would say that brings it totally out of the league of a little restaurant serving wine or even vodka, or a little jazz club in the evening. And number two, we have never given a variance to a club that is 20,000 square feet. And I think we should talk apples and apples, and we have never in the past given a variance to any type of establishment of this magnitude or this type. So I don't see where there's any precedence, and this is based on a case-by-case basis. One last question for Mr. Galdos. There are some, there's some LDR requirements and meeting certain requirements and having to do with granting this variance. Yes, the main issue is the distance because it is closer than 1,500 feet to the residential apartment complex. There's probably over 500 units in there. And it does, our language does talk to the being in harmony with the general intent and purpose of these LDRs. I think at the last meeting it was established, you established, Ms. Martin and Mr. Galdos, very aptly you established that the Gymnasium Academy is in fact not a school, because if it was a school it would not be allowed to be there. So it did not come in that, and I did not base my decision on the school, but the fact that it is next to residential. But being in harmony with the neighbor, can we as board members take into consideration what is going on, the other businesses in the neighborhood and the harmony? Because to me it's not necessarily in harmony with 300 children about 350 feet from this club, and these children are going to be there. I believe last month, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but you did mention that high school children walk from the high school across Biscayne Boulevard, cross the tracks, and walk to the gymnasium. So they are walking by this business, and they are leaving at 9 o'clock. And again, the patrons, what they do inside is their own business, but when they come out and they've been drinking and they're aroused or whatever, there are going to be young children in the neighborhood.
Yep.
And I want to know if that is anything, if we are not allowed to take that into consideration, then I would advise the board that we do not take that in consideration. But if we are allowed to consider whether this establishment serving alcohol is harmonious with the neighborhood, because the gymnasium, while it is not a school, is a legally licensed business. So I'm just asking your opinion whether we can consider that.
First and foremost, they're there by the choice of the city. The Florida Supreme Court back in 1986 dictated that this type of use they have a First Amendment right to exist. The city has chosen for them only one location, and that is the zoning, this M1 zoning district, which is purely industrial. Their existence in that zoning district is compelled by the city. They're not choosing this location. They can't. The city has relegated only this tiny little section of the city where this kind of use can exist. And back in June 26, this use and the use of alcoholic beverages, sales and consumption, was approved by City Council. So that was already, that's done.
But we have a pre-existing business.
Yes.
And are we allowed to consider the nature of the business, the nature of the clientele, and
They're both, as a non-school, as an indoor recreation, they can both coexist. I mean, they can coexist. They're in the industrial zoning district.
right? Since this is a pre-existing business, legally established, because our codes speak about pre-established, legally established businesses, I'm just asking if, in my mind, I can say, well, they're not a school, so they're not really meeting, we're not discussing the distance requirement, but is this establishment really harmonious with the neighborhood? Because that is number 6 of your LDR variance.
Well, how can you say they're not when they have no choice but to operate there?
Answer a question.
Quiet, quiet, quiet.
You guys need to stop this.
This is
I'm
flabbergasted.
Otherwise, we're gonna ask.
I would say
Please,
no.
we've got to have order, please.
I would say no. I would not include. I would treat. This is a non-issue. This is a distance waiver from a residential use. It's got nothing to do with an indoor recreation. So they can both coexist, and that's my reading of the ordinance. That's my reading of the state law. That's my reading of case law. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McDermott.
Yes, Madam Chairman, City Attorney.
Microphone, please.
Through the, Madam Chairman, through you to the City Attorney, let me ask you a question. Since my name was raised, okay, I know that emotions run high, but I was confronted as a board member this evening, coming in on 2 different occasions, okay? Now I find somebody who is challenging me in the microphone, okay, as to whether or not I should recuse myself. You reviewed the last meeting, I assume. Am I validated to...
Whatever comments you made, sir, were made in the context of a public hearing. If you are, as a board member, allowed to speak ex parte, to conduct ex parte communication, and then you are capable of coming here and curing that communication by disclosing on the record, as we indicated earlier before we started, how can you not talk as a private citizen? I believe that there's no conflict.
There's no conflict?
No. No.
Excuse me, no, we're not taking anything, no, we're not taking, please.
I'm-
No, please, I
Go
can't
to
do that.
court.
Madam Chair, there's a legal argument that's
No,
not being
please.
addressed here that
Please.
I'd just like to make for the
No,
record.
no, I can't do that. We just will not finish, and it's not fair. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be fair to everybody. This is a very difficult issue.
Wow.
Okay, Mr. Marty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to apologize in front of those kids that, on behalf of whomever brought them to that situation. I never hear from one of you that's come out there and said, first of all, the school should not be there. At no time, I would not want to see my daughter go to a school in the M1 district. That makes no sense at all. That makes no sense at all. And therefore, okay, the kids should understand that. Okay, I want to talk at your level. I know beside the gymnastic you also go to school. In your own school, there is a cafeteria. That's where they brought you to eat. Can you eat inside the classroom? I don't think so. Therefore, the school you in is not placing in the right position, because the city, have a code. Based on the code of the city, the school has no business to be there. That's the issue right there. And what we have in front of us today, it's not about the school either. It's just a variant, because we give so many of them the same way. Okay, that's what we have to consider now. This is a very difficult situation, but we have to take the right decision also.
Ms. Philippe?
Anyone else?
Come on.
I'll let them go.
Okay. Ms. Tundro, you have something to say?
Yes, I have a question for staff.
Microphone, Lucy. Ms. Tundro, excuse me.
Sorry, I'm catching a cold, so my voice is not as loud as it is as usual. I have a question for staff. It says after the first 90 days, the chief of police is going to revisit to know whether or not they should increase or decrease security in that area. I don't see to maintain the level of security that is there after 90 days. They are talking about increasing or decreasing. That's my first question.
Madam Trondo, if you look at number 7, it indicates that the operation, the site, will continuously be monitored by the North Miami Police Department and the Department of Community Planning and Development for compliance. So you're going to have a continual monitoring of this entity by the city. In addition, the music and entertainment license that was approved by this board and city council requires security, an ongoing security presence.
Okay. My other question is that any other business violates the 1,500 feet requirement, or is it only for this business? Because I understand, from what I understand,
it's for
that the city
all.
doesn't have enough space to.
It's the distance waiver is for alcoholic beverage sales, aside from the fact of what kind of business it is. It's alcoholic. The distance waiver is for alcoholic beverage sales. And I think
Are
you're
there any
alluding.
other businesses that are less than 1,500 feet, the requirement of 1,500 feet, that have that variance to sell alcoholic beverages?
Not adult entertainment establishments, but many other alcoholic beverage licensees, yes, many are within 1,500 feet of residences, churches, schools, parks, and in some cases they're within the distance of several of those.
Okay. What is being discussed tonight, it is about giving whether or not we should allow them to have the variance to sell alcoholic beverage, not the strip club per se, because the strip club is a done deal. Is that correct?
Right. It has to do with the distance waiver for alcoholic beverage sales. The second item would be for the hours, but this is just the distance waiver, which would allow the alcoholic beverage sales. Yes.
Okay. This is the first strip club we have in North Miami, from what I understand. Is that correct?
Yes.
So which means there's no precedent in terms of alcoholic beverages or anything.
Correct. I mean, our code for many, many, many years has allowed adult entertainment establishments in the M1, but then what happened is the pre-code prohibited alcoholic beverage sales, and when the council decided, this year that they're going to allow adult entertainment, establishments with alcoholic beverage sales. That's why you're going to, get applications now.
Madam Chair.
Are you,
to
excuse
staff.
me, one more question. In your experience, have you ever seen any adult entertainment club serving iced tea only?
No, I've heard of one.
It does exist.
Yeah, I heard there was one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mr. Mon, are you
But
done?
the
Mr. Cook?
issue before us,
Mr. McDermott.
My
The-
turn.
oh, I'm sorry. The issue before us, it's on. The issue before us tonight is simply the waiver. Is that correct, of the distance? Right?
Yes,
The hours is a different issue.
right.
Thank you. Mr. Mondesir, did you?
Basically, the question I had was answered by both of my colleagues. But I do want to ask, it seems as if tonight's meeting is being challenged due to the August 15th meeting. So how does that affect the decision we make tonight?
Well, I urge you to, and I'm not going to second guess my city attorney, I will urge you to vote on the matter today and consider these proceedings valid. And at the end, irrespective of how you vote, if there's a challenge, then so be it, and I'll address it at that point.
Oh, Mr. Haber, go ahead. You have something to say?
Yeah, good evening. Joseph Haber. I got to tell you people, I love my little girls, 6 and 11. I see girls out there supporting your school or your academy gym, and I think it's really great that you're being taught to stand up for what you believe in. I just want to say that people drink alcohol everywhere, and this is about giving an alcohol variance. And what's significant is people drink alcohol at homes, people drink alcohol at bars, at restaurants. Everywhere in the world, people are drinking alcohol responsibly. I personally don't really like alcohol that much. And when somebody becomes drunk, I have witnessed that they have been irresponsible and done things reckless, criminal, deviant, etc. So I think that alcoholism in general is not a good thing, but to pinpoint one place in this world that it's going to exist and to ignore that it's everywhere, I don't think is a reasonable argument. Thank you.
Ms. Philippe? Save the best for last.
The best for last, that's right. Okay. We're here tonight for two specific items. And I believe I stated the last time at the meeting, we have to consider exactly what is before us, regardless of our feelings, beliefs, or what have you. And I do commend the young ladies for coming out. I too have a granddaughter, 6 years old, in gymnastics in Orlando. But this is also an opportunity for them to learn possibly how capitalism works. I've said it on several other occasions. This is what happened with our city. We've given variances to certain entities to go into certain areas that should not be. But then when a viable business that's supposed to be in that particular area comes along, then we have a whole slew of people come out to speak against it. But it's like, what comes first, the chicken or the eggs? We've created this situation, but now we're asking someone who, if a viable business, who has every right to be in that M1 district, not to come in. And that is what I'm standing upon. The 1,500 feet, it does not meet it. I understand that, because look around our cities, look at how misshaped, whatever that it is, that creates all these storefront churches are there, but then restaurants opening up, a store is opening up, and you're selling beer, you're selling, other type of alcohol. This is what we've created in North Miami. And, this is what I'm standing behind, and I don't know. And I'm ready to make a recommendation to approve the distance variance for this particular item.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion, yes.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion on the table to approve the staff's recommendation for the variance. Any further discussion? Let's call the question. Or roll call, Ms. Martin.
Ms. Keys?
No? Do I have to state all the reasons, Mr. Galdos?
No.
Let's wait for the majority outcome.
Okay.
Ms. Philippe?
Yes.
Mr. Haber?
Yes.
Mr. Marty?
Yes.
Ms. Tondreau?
Yes.
Mr. Mondesir?
Yes.
Mr. McDermott?
No.
Okay, the distance waiver variance passes. I guess we'll go to the second item. I think what we did last time is we discussed that we could, I don't know if we need to do, I guess we do need to do public hearing again because it's a totally different item.
Yes, we have yet to hear this item. I would, yes.
Mr. Pizzo? Wait, well, I'm sorry. Ms. Martin, would you read your recommendation? You recommended to deny the...
Yeah, it's a
extended hours.
petition for variance to Chapter 3, Section 3-10 to allow extended hours for alcoholic beverage sales and consumption in the M1 district. Staff is recommending denial of the variance to allow extended hours of alcoholic beverage sales and consumption until 6 a.m. Chapter 3, Section 3-10 states that it shall be unlawful for any licensee to sell, serve, or distribute any alcoholic beverage between the hours of 1 a.m. and 7 a.m. on days Monday through Friday, between the hours of 2 a.m. and 7 a.m. on Saturday, and between the hours of 2 a.m. and 1 p.m. on Sunday. In addition, consumption shall cease 1/2 hour after the hours licensed to sell, serve, or 1:30 a.m. on days Monday through Friday, and 2:30 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow the sale, distribution, and consumption of alcoholic beverages until 6 a.m. on all days of the week. The letter of intent stated that the extended hours are necessary to be competitive with other similar businesses. Staff is recommending denial of the variance to allow extended hours of sales and consumption until 6 a.m. Although there are 4 restaurants or bars within the city that appear to have a 5 a.m. license for alcoholic beverage sales, Chapter 3 of the city's Code of Ordinances was changed by the City Council on February 26, 2008. One of the changes separated the music and entertainment license and the 5 a.m. closing time that was granted, along with the special fee that the music and entertainment license carried, but nightclubs were excluded from the automatic 5 a.m. closing. The revised Chapter 3 now stipulates the hours of sales and consumption for all alcoholic beverage establishments, and also provides for an applicant to obtain a music and entertainment license. However, obtaining a music and entertainment license no longer allows extended alcoholic beverage sales. The code specifically states that a variance must be applied for and obtained for extended hours. Since the revisions to Chapter 3 of the code, staff has not encouraged nor has the Board of Adjustment approved any variances for extended hours other than for one applicant. That applicant, Mocha Cafe, operates primarily as a restaurant and was granted a variance to allow extended hours of sales until 3 a.m. on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday mornings, with the understanding that the kitchen would be open for food service until closing. The applicant had stated that the restaurant normally closes by 12 a.m. and that it would not open late on all 3 nights, but that special events could take place on Friday or Saturday or Sunday nights. It was further reported by the North Miami Police Chief that there had been no incidents at the restaurant in the past to warrant concern. In addition to not wanting to set a precedent for late night hours at the many alcoholic beverage licensee establishments in the city, staff is concerned about the impact on the community and surrounding communities of patrons leaving an establishment after consuming alcoholic beverages at hours when many people are traveling to work and school. Statistics compiled by the U.S. Department of Transportation state that overall, 32% of all fatal crashes involve alcohol-impaired drivers. However, between the hours of 12 a.m. to 3 a.m., the percentage jumps to 66%, and between the hours of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m., the percentage jumps to 52%. Article 3, Section 3-606 specifies the following standards for the granting of a variance and states the Board of Adjustment shall find that the applicant demonstrates compliance with 4 of the 6 as listed below. 1, that special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved and which are not applicable to other land structures or buildings in the same district. Staff finds that although there are no other adult entertainment establishments or nightclubs in the M1 zoning district, any future applicants would be held to the same standards of the code and will be subject to compliance with Chapter 3, Section 3-10 pertaining to the allowed hours for alcoholic beverage sales and consumption. All other lands and all other zoning districts are subject to the same regulations with regard to hours of sales and consumption, and the regulations are not based on location, the land itself, or the structures on the land. 2, the unusual circumstances or conditions necessitating the variance request are present in the neighborhood and are not unique to the property. Staff finds that there are no unusual circumstances or conditions necessitating the variance. In addition, there are no alcoholic beverage licensees in the neighborhood with extended hours to 6 a.m. Granting an extended hours variance to 6 a.m. would make this place of business the only licensee in the city serving alcoholic beverages until that hour. 3, that the requested variance maintains the basic intent and purpose of the subject regulations, particularly as it affects the stability and appearance of the neighborhood. Staff finds that the requested variance does not maintain the basic intent of the regulations, which is to limit alcoholic beverage sales and consumption to specific hours, the latest hour being 2 a.m. for sales and 2:30 p.m. for consumption. 4, the literal interpretation of the provisions of these LDRs would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district under the terms of the LDRs. The literal interpretation of the LDRs does not deprive the applicant of rights enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district. There are no licensees with extended alcoholic beverage hours in the district. Furthermore, since Chapter 3 was revised and adopted February 26, 2008, no other alcoholic beverage licensee in the entire city has been granted extended hours except for Mocha Cafe, a restaurant, which was granted extended hours until 3 a.m. on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday mornings. 5, the variance requested is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, structure, or building. The reasonable use of the land and building is not affected by the variance request, as the variance request is specific to this tenant, which can still operate as an adult entertainment establishment with music and entertainment and alcoholic beverage sales. Furthermore, staff does not consider 4 and 5 hours beyond what the code allows for alcoholic beverage sales to be a minimum variance. 6, the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of these LDRs, and such variance will not be injurious to the area involved. The granting of the variance will not be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the LDRs, which is to ensure that alcoholic beverages are not sold or consumed after a specified time. Furthermore, the LDRs state as its purpose to establish comprehensive controls for the use of the land in the city of North Miami to protect, promote, and improve the public health, safety, comfort, order, appearance, convenience, morals, and general welfare and quality of life in the city of North Miami, to establish rules of procedure for land development approvals to enhance the character of the city and the preservation of neighborhoods. Based on the above analysis, staff finds that at least 4 of the 6 standards for granting a variance have not been met, and therefore recommends denial of the variance to allow extended hours of alcoholic beverage sales until 6 a.m.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Mr. Cassell?
Thank you once again for hearing this item. Let me begin first with the history of this applicant. Again, you've all heard this before. This applicant ran and operated a business in Sunny Isles Beach very similar to this. During that period of time, none of the issues that were discussed earlier or that's in staff's report occurred at that establishment. So we asked you to look at our history. The history shows that no one left the club at 6 o'clock in the morning and ran into accidents. No one left the club at 6 o'clock in the morning and went and molested people. That didn't happen. The fact is, we've agreed not only to have our own security, not only to have our own lighting, but to have police officers. Understand that your own code says you cannot have more restrictive zoning requirements than other businesses because it's unconstitutional. We agreed to several things which I fought against, but my client, again, trying to be a good neighbor, agreed to some of these recommendations. But we asked you to look at the recommendations that you've all made and that we've agreed to. We are agreeing to have police officers present at the facility in the evening. I don't know that you've asked that of anyone else that's selling alcohol or this kind of use. Obviously, we've dealt with the soundproofing, but the number 3 was
the use of the establishment shall not cause directly or indirectly an upsurge in crime or police response incidents at or about the premises. You've already had us agree to that. So if there's concerns about DUIs or individuals leaving the club and performing acts that are against the public good, we've already agreed that if that's an issue, you guys can shut us down. The establishment, oh, actually that's not one. So we've agreed to these things. So the issues of security and alcohol, and not to mention also that we'd lose our liquor license if that ever became a problem. But like I said, we were open in Sunny Isles Beach. These issues never came up. More importantly, in the hearings that we've had before the council, one of the most important things that came out of the council was one of the council members, I believe it was Scott Galvin, argued that he did not want to see us open during the day. He didn't want us open during school hours. So right now we could open from 7 a.m. in the morning to 1 p.m. at night. We agreed into these discussions and said it on the record that we would not open, which would lose a significant part of our business. I mean, we're losing the entire lunch crowd. All of our competitors have a lunch hour, and it is significant for the business to have a lunch hour because the lunch hour goes on to the evening hours, and so that's revenue that they're willing to lose. If you look at the hours that we're losing and the hours that we're asking, overall, we're actually open fewer hours. If you actually count all the hours that would be open. So the net gain, sum, whatever, is that we're actually open less. So if there's issues about people leaving and drinking alcohol, that we're actually open fewer hours. We're not open during the day where traffic is significantly greater. Accidents can happen at any time, and we all know that. They can happen if you're coming out of our club. They can happen if you're coming out of any other club. I think what you have to understand here again is this is another issue of us trying to be, obviously do something that's good for us, for our business. Our competitors up and down the street are all open to 6 a.m. in the morning. We'd like to be a competitive and successful business by also being open up till 6 o'clock in the morning. But at the end of the day, we're doing what the council asked us to do. The council asked us to close for a certain amount of time and open later, just so that we would not have issues with children. We're agreeing to that, but we hope that in agreeing to that, you also understand that we want to be a successful business. I mean, we are in business to make money, and that we would like to have the extended hours. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for hearing us. I think as an applicant, it's good to see that that you all are giving us the time and the fairness to look at what we're proposing, regardless of the popularity of our proposal or our business. If you have any further questions, I'm happy to answer it, but that's really in a nutshell. The argument is we're giving up so many hours early in the day. Please give us the hours towards the end of the day to make up for it. Thank you.
I'd like to open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak, come up. Ms. Flynn, you arrived late. You didn't take the oath. Anybody else who's going to speak who did not take the oath earlier?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Okay. As with the prior issue...
Could you state your name and address?
I'm sorry. Esther Blinn, 1990 Northeast 118th Road. As with the prior issue, variances are what they say they are. They're variances, departures from the basic rules and regulations. The arguments were eloquently made regarding the legality of having the meeting. That being said, the vote was taken. Now you're talking about another issue. And at the prior meeting, where the vote was different, Mr. Galdos, you said that considering extending the hours was actually moot because the decision of the board had already been made. I, too, like a lot of people, listened carefully to the tape and the arguments. There are huge, huge bodies of literature regarding what happens when you extend the hours of alcohol service in an establishment such as a strip club, and the extending them the hours that they wish, the incidence of crime, the incidence of problems, the incidence of abuse exponentially increase. I think it was quite wise for the staff, though I didn't agree with the prior recommendations, certainly agree with this. This is a far cry from helping someone make money. In fact, if you read about the clubs that were sort of silently operating for decades serving alcohol, the strip clubs in North Miami Beach, that council just voted. They tried to actually eliminate, after giving permission for decades for these clubs to serve alcohol, and knew that would be very unsuccessful. But they did say they would not consider extending the hours of operation for those very clubs until at least a year had gone by and they could assess the situation, which ours will be a new situation. So I urge you to listen to what people have said. Someone said, and I actually took the time, and so did Mr. Blinn, to drive around in that near that apartment complex and around the apartment complex and in the apartment complex. You are talking about you're not talking about wealthy people, you're not talking about impoverished people, but you're talking about people who are struggling. A mother with her child, age 11, was walking outside of the complex at 10 o'clock at night, and there are people coming home from work at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. There are children being taken from that complex to daycare at all hours. There is a reason how that law developed for what hours alcohol is served. And I urge you to consider not granting any more variances till you see how things work. And I will add that I spoke to Chief Elias about the fact that I understood that at one point in time there might only be one police officer. He said, no, you must have misunderstood. One police officer is not sufficient. The security needs to have a chance to develop and see what develops out of this, and I think you should take a very conservative point of view. There are reasons why these laws are in place.
We do have a time limit, so I wasn't timing, but I'm sure Mr. Burns was. Is there anybody else? Yes. Thank you.
Hi, still Tracy Heldem at 2090 Northeast 124th Street. Also feel very strongly against the extended hours. I know that my son is in high school at ATM, and he gets picked up, well, when he got picked up by the bus, it was at 6:30 in the morning, sometimes 6:15, depending on where the bus stops are. Children leave for school. There's Fulford Elementary School just north of there. There's, I think it's not Reynolds, I can't remember the name. The other one south of there. There's a daycare, I know, on 18th Avenue and 146th Street that is open and has extended hours. I would be devastated to hear that one of those children or one of those bus stops or one of those groups of people were injured by somebody leaving a club that is in our area. And I strongly oppose extended hours. I feel bad for the business people. I wish they make very good living, and I wish they would be very successful, but not at the expense of the children in that neighborhood. They are already behind the 8 ball. They're already walking to where they need to go. And 18th Avenue and 151st Street and all those intersections are fully loaded with children all hours, including at night when the kids leave the school. I was just at ATM. There were still children on the field doing sports practices at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and they will be walking or taking buses from that school across Biscayne Boulevard right past this establishment. And I wouldn't want my daughter or my son having to field any questions or be put in any positions where they be at risk. And God forbid if it was my child going to school, gets hit by a drunk driver coming out of this place, hell have no fury. Hell have no fury. I've lived in this city for 40 years, and I want to stay here, but it's getting very difficult to want to stay here.
Thank you.
Good evening, Kevin Burns, 2065 Alamanda Drive, North Miami, Florida. One of the previous speakers, Mrs. Blinn, commented about what North Miami Beach was doing. By the way, North Miami Beach this evening approved 6 a.m. licenses for their existing clubs. They have for the last 17 years, and what they established, she was probably referring to was the fact that they, if you're denied an application for the extended hours, you have to come back a year later to do that. But all 3 clubs had their licenses renewed this evening to compete, to be open till 6 a.m. And it was interesting, the heading of their ordinance was that the city of North Miami Beach realizes that the businesses within the city of North Miami Beach were at a disadvantage as opposed to the entertainment clubs outside of North Miami Beach. And to give them a fair competitive edge, we are going to give them the ability to extend the hours. So there's a city that's pro-business, trying to help the business people. You know, a lot of times people get up here and like to tell other people how to spend their money, how to run their business. These individuals are spending millions of dollars to bring their business here. They have a business model that worked in Sunny Isles. Yet other people want to tell you when and where and how to spend your money, how to operate. If there is nobody that's going to be there buying a drink at 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning, they'll close. But if they can have a business there, that's great. What the staff has failed to tell you is that Point Lounge has, which I always thought was a 23-hour license, and until recently their sign said open till 7 a.m. And they used to reopen at 8 a.m. Also, Flanagan's, when I was growing up, when we called it Big Daddy's in the discotheque, I never left there until 6 o'clock. They had a 6 a.m. license. They choose not to close. They choose to close at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. But they have a license that allows them to at least 5, maybe 6. Mocha Cafe only applied for 3 o'clock because they said they did not want to be open past 3 a.m. in the morning. They didn't want to. That wasn't their business model. The applicant has volunteered to stay closed from 7:30 till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So those hours have got to be worth something. So they're going to take daylight hours and trade them for nighttime hours when there are less people on the road, when there's less individuals. And folks, I have a 11-year-old daughter. She will not be walking on a street at 9 o'clock at night without me. So I don't have those same concerns. And if your kids are picked up at 6:30 in the morning on a bus, that's great. That's where they should be, on a bus on the way to school. But if they're coming from Keystone Point, they'll never go west of the tracks. And by the way, if you look at the school studies that were done when we created ATM and David Lawrence, one of the studies we had to do, or the school board did, was the number of foot traffic of kids walking from the west to the east. It was so minimal that they did not even have to provide crossing guards. They did not have to provide bus service because it was almost non-existent. And then people like to refer to about the center court apartments, about, oh my gosh, the poor residents there. Well, guess what? Look at the number of police call services there, outnumber all the restaurants and liquor establishments in the city combined if you look at the calls for services there. I think the applicants and I think other people, if they had the ability to ask to stay open to 5 o'clock, they would. But it's based upon your business model. I think if there's businesses on 7th Avenue that are open to 5 a.m. and they want to stay open to 6 a.m. because they have the business, I think we should promote that. If there's people, it's those people's business. It's their business model. And again, as the staff told you, that they are not recommending this. However, what has usually happened is the applicant will negotiate with staff. Okay, we want 6, you want 2, we're going to settle at 5, and staff will get your recommendation. I understand these applicants never wanted to negotiate because they wanted to ask the board here, let you all make the decision because of their business model. And if you had common sense that says, well, wait a second, these people are giving up 8 hours in the daytime and they want 6 more hours or 4 more hours at nighttime, seems like a pretty good trade-off for the city. I got their the letter that was submitted, and total number of hours that the club is going to be, that they're legally allowed to be open, is now cut by like 30 hours a week. They're going to be open less than if they open the legal hours that they're permitted today. So you make a decision. Do you want them open in the daytime from 7 in the morning to 2 o'clock at night? In the morning, or would you rather have them open at 3 in the afternoon and open to 6 a.m.? And guess what? The city attorney, the city staff has already told you that the chief of police, the city manager, are going to look to make sure if there's a problem, you're going to either increase, and if there is a problem, becomes a nuisance, this city attorney's office can yank their license. And they're more concerned about the state yanking their licenses because of problems than they are the local government. So the city is covered. We love to predict gloom and doom in this city instead of saying, listen, let's see how it works, let's go forward, and if there's a problem, we have remedies, we have laws to address it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would encourage you, here a business is going to spend almost $3 million, which is, I'm not spending it, you're not spending it.
Can we wrap it up, Mr.
Okay,
Burns?
yes ma'am. In this city of North Miami, how many other people are spending $3 million, $3 million in this city, going to hire 150 people, all this good stuff? And again, if you have a problem, you shut them down. But Billy's Pub is open till 5 a.m., and they had a problem 50 feet from the police department. Houston's and Morton's restaurant up on Biscayne Boulevard had a shooting. They're not a strip joint. They're not a gentleman's club. Crime happens everywhere. And people get drunk everywhere, whether it's at Royal Castle, I'm not picking on Royal Castle tonight, whether it's in the daytime, go get a couple martinis during lunch or happy hour. So it's not restricted just to strip clubs at 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you,
So
Mr.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please consider promoting businesses in North Miami and look at their investment. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else? Seeing no one else, I'm going to close the public hearing. I'll start my comments. Basically, some of this to answer our former mayor. I've lived in North Miami well over 50 years, around the corner from the Point Lounge, and as long as it's always been there. So there's nothing we could do about it. Flanagan's, I know, was open when I went to college, so those type of businesses are pretty much grandfathered in. Billy's Pub, if there is a shooting at a pub 50 feet from the police station, what do you think is going to happen at a adult entertainment that is in the middle of the warehouse district? It's just going to be, it could be even worse. But I'm not going to go there. I'm just rebutting that. Also, it was Kevin Burns, our former mayor, that was the person who restricted business. It was his administration, his council, that changed our code of ordinances on February 26, 2008. So Mr. Burns was the mayor when he was the one who changed the hours and put the limit on the hours to Friday and Saturday at 2 o'clock and Sunday through Thursday at 1. So it was you, Mr. Burns, that actually is the one restricting the businesses, and which is what we're trying to abide by. On the other hand, I think 6 o'clock is outrageous. I really think it's, this business came in knowing what the hours were and made a decision. I'm sorry if it's not competitive. I think the city of North Miami Beach would have closed the clubs down had they not been lax in their laws and realize that they just kind of drew a stopple. They're stuck with their clubs and they're allowing it. This is in a neighborhood. I just think 6 o'clock is an outrageous time. I would have. Again, we're talking about precedent. There are no other clubs in North Miami that have been granted licenses since the new laws that were given any extension except Mocha, which was an hour. I wouldn't have minded an hour for that, but 6 o'clock, people will be there all evening. The drinking, you've got 20. You also have 20,000 square feet. I keep bringing that up. This is huge. This club is really twice the size of Dean's Gold on 163rd, and I think it's about almost 3 times the size as Swinging Richards. And it's a huge club. And to just and even our city manager and ex-chief of police said, you mix alcohol and nudity and you have problems. And to extend these hours into the middle of the night and encourage more drinking and letting people like that out on the street at these extended hours, I think is just way. I mean, I can't believe that someone was really be asking us for 6 o'clock. So, any comment?
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
All right, I have a couple comments. One is, I'm sorry. One is, I drive up and down I-95 a lot, and although I've never been there, I drive by a place off of I-95 called, you can't miss it on I-95, called Scarlett's. And I'm telling you, I can see down when I go over I-95, they have a lunch business. You can't get a car in that parking lot. Okay? It is absolutely packed at lunchtime. Now, our city council has agreed that the club, the establishment, can be open certain hours during the day. I think everybody was on board from the fact that we don't want them to have a lunch business. We don't want them to be a Scarlett's and have people coming and going up and down that street. So they said, cut off the hours, add to the evening. It just seems logical that that's what you'd want to do if you're exchanging hours. Let's face it, South Florida is a late night place. South Florida is in the 21st century. South Florida is the mecca from people all over the world. All of these establishments are open to all hours, 5, 6. I know for a fact that basically the Point Lounge has been open till 7 a.m. There's establishment on the west side who are legitimately able to be open until 6 but choose not to. As far as the children walking in the street, I don't know about anybody else, but I think parents who would let their child walk at night in a warehouse area with or without the club are real irresponsible parents. Okay? The other thing that came up was the fact that the police, there's not going to be, how can you have North Miami police cars sitting out front with North Miami uniformed officers who are there, and they're going to let some drunk come out of the place and climb into a car? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. Again, the competitiveness, every single establishment in this kind of business around us, Miami Gardens, Miami Beach, North Miami Beach now, they all have 6 o'clock. And I think since the board voted to allow them to be a business in this city, we need to allow them to be competitive to stay open. And last but not least, we have a certificate of use in this city. This establishment is going to be constantly supervised by the city manager and by the police chief. If they do wrong, if things don't go right, we can put them out of business. That's what the certificate of use is about. So my feeling is we need to give the guys a chance, let them operate in competitiveness with everybody else around them. And if they become a problem, then we can close them down. If they don't become a problem, they become good corporate citizens and bring income and jobs to the city. That's my take on it.
Madam Chair, if I may. I have a question for the city attorney. It's mentioned that there are 4 businesses currently in the city that has licenses till 5 a.m. I have an interest in one of them. So does me voting on the issue present a conflict?
Your business is not an issue here. It's not an issue. And he's just disclosed that that he has a business that is open at that time. So you're one of the ones that actually, that is a moot point because your business likely was grandfathered in. Am I correct?
Yes.
So you're illegal non-conforming under the new code, which was passed and adopted in 2008.
Yeah, but that I don't think with this type of license, it's not a variance. So were his business to be sold, and first of all, it's only till 5 a.m. This stuff about the point and 7 a.m., they're doing obviously things illegal if that's the case. But the latest license we have is 5 a.m.
Joanne,
But
it's on their front door.
where's the police? I don't know.
Yeah, it's over,
I'm not out at that house.
It's over in San Souci, believe it or not.
It's probably been there for about at least 40 years.
And Big Daddy's has a 5 a.m. license, and their sign on their door says they close at 1.
And
You know.
And the Point Lounge, if you go over there at 4 or 5 o'clock, do you think you're going to see more than 5 or 6 people in the bar? I don't think so.
But there are
That's a
people
big difference.
still-
Let's talk.
Whether it's 1 or 10, it doesn't make any difference.
But
I have a
just
question.
Yeah, but if it's 5 or 200, it does.
My question is, I have a question for
Ms.
staff.
Tundro, please.
6 a.m. really, it's the time that I wake up to go to the gym every day. I can't believe people are still in clubs at that time. But yet, if there are other businesses you said that have licenses until 5 a.m., even with the, I want to make sure that I understand very well.
Mm-hmm.
They have licenses to sell alcohol until 5 a.m., is that correct?
Right. They obtained them years ago, but now under the new code, it's not a variance to have a 5 a.m. license, so it's not going to run with the land. It's going to run with the applicant. A new applicant buys his business, just like with what happened at Mocha. Remember, they bought that business. They had to come back for the special exception for the nightclub. They had to come back for the music and entertainment license, and then they applied for the extra hour on their own. It's not gonna, so it doesn't run with the land, and when new ownership takes over, they have to apply for their own license, and it is not grandfathered in. The board could do whatever they want.
As a point of clarification, it's not a license that allows you to stay open. It's a privilege extended solely by the city, either by being grandfathered in because you were open until 5 before the code was written. You, sir, you probably have do you sell liquor? Okay, so you have a 4 COP. That 4 COP, the hours of operating that 4 COP is up to the city. So it's not really the license per se, because the hours are completely dictated by the city. So
Have there been any discussion with city to see if they can go ahead and open and serve alcohol Friday, Saturday, and Sundays? Does it have to be 7 days a week until 6 a.m.?
They're allowed. Well, I mean, that's what the applicant, I believe, is requesting.
That's where they're asking.
That's what
you.
they're
It doesn't
asking
have
this
to be
board.
anything.
It really doesn't have to be that, and you can modify. You can, actually vote in favor of a denial. You can vote against it, or you can condition a different set of hours.
It's not 7 days a week?
It is.
It is 7 days a week.
But they're open for lunch on Saturday and Sunday. They are open at 1 for lunch on Saturday and Sunday.
Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Because they're down the street from the schools, and that's what the council wanted them to not be open when the kids were.
To 6 a.m. Okay,
Ms.
thank you.
Sandra.
Thanks.
Ms. Felicia.
I just have one question. since on our code, we're trying to follow what our code says. Mr. Cazzo, if you don't mind, would your client be opposed to the current, well, it would be, I think, an extra hour, which is concurrent to what MOCA has of the 3 a.m., and that would be for you guys to see how your business is going, 6 months, a year, and then maybe...
We couldn't do that. I mean, not opening at 3 o'clock. I mean, if you look at it, you'd be open from 3 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. We would have to go against what the council wanted, which is open earlier. I mean, the reason, it's the council that asked us, that said, yeah, it's the council that asked us not to be open during the school days. I mean, obviously, we would love to be open from 7 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the morning. But we can't do that. But at the same time, we can't only be open from 3 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning.
I'd like to ask a question of you, Mr. Cazzo, and our council. You stated to the board when you were getting the special exception that you were ready to open, and you would open with or without serving liquor.
Right.
Okay. Now, this is a petition to allow extended hours for alcoholic beverage sales and consumption. It's really not a variance for operating. Is that correct, Mr. Galdos? Whereas they could still operate as without liquor sales, that if you...
Yes, they could serve the iced tea if they so desire. They're not, compelled to sell alcoholic beverages. Of course, that would probably be business suicide, but they're not compelled.
Well, they were ready. They stated to the board they were ready, able to open without any alcohol sales. You were ready to go. So would it be acceptable that you operate, but you don't start your liquor sales till 4 and then you stop at 3? Are you willing to do something like that? Whereas you could still open, you could run your club like you said you were able to, but you just don't.
You're still starting us at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean.
No, I'm saying you wouldn't have to. This variance, the way I'm reading it, is a variance for sale of beverage and consumption of alcohol. It's not for operating your facility. So, I mean, you could actually serve breakfast and lunch. You just can't start serving liquor. You open the bar at 4 and you close at 3.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's even a possibility.
I'm still not even sure what you're saying. I mean, are you
This is a
suggesting
variance.
that we open in the morning?
You open when you want. You just don't start serving liquor until 4
Okay.
o'clock, and then you shut down.
All right. Now we're mixing up the discussion. Because,
We are.
Yeah, because.
But I'm trying to see
Well,
if
no, because the discussion when we were discussing adult entertainment, what your council said was we don't want to have an adult entertainment facility, whether it sells alcohol or not,
Okay.
open during the day. I mean, that's what it is. So that's why we agreed to that. And now we're asking, we want to have alcohol till 6 in the morning. I mean, you're mixing the two things.
Mr. Cazzo, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry to be jumping in.
Go ahead, Mr. Lee.
It's been a long
You
night.
started it.
Yeah, it's been a long night, and please understand, this particular issue depends upon the city. Is that whether or not you have a COC, what is it? CO4 you can serve.
COP. Right.
In terms of your operation, it depends upon the city. We did not, at least I did not decide as to your operation, the hours. That's the council. And you guys decided how you're going to trade the hours. You made a decision that you felt at the time would be best for you. I want to make sure that we look upon the fact that for you to operate a business and at the same time keep our residents and the what we call quality of life in the city. I am proposing, and that's just me, and you don't have to, but because I can see we're going back and forth here, and I want you to go out of here with something in your hand. The 3 o'clock closing or stop serving alcohol, let it go for 6 months or let it go for a year to see, and then you can come back to the board to increase the hours based on what has been the study I mean,
Are you
we have to
suggesting that we
come
open
to,
at 3 and close at 1?
we have to come to an,
She's talking about closing at 3.
Can I respond?
Are you done, Ms. Philippe? Wait, wait, let Mr. Kuzo.
Mr. Philippe, did you finish?
no, well, I just, because once, I believe, Mr. Galdos, once we make the decision here, whatever it is, they can't take it to the council, or can they?
No, it will not, they can take it to council, but it would not be, I don't think it would be reheard. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say
And that's
what council
I'm
can and
trying-
cannot do.
I'm
but-
trying to come to for us to come to an understanding, compromise some way, somehow, so that people on both sides come out with something that they feel good about.
Well, can
I don't know.
Can I say, we've already got establishments in the city that are open to 5. Now, we voted, or I did not vote, but the board voted to allow this facility to move forward. I think it would be unfair to them, since we already have establishments with 5 o'clock licenses in the city, to then try to, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to move them back to 3 when there's somebody, when there's
Then why did we
businesses all the time.
change our zoning code? Those businesses are there, they're there till they close down, they've been there forever. Our council, Mr. Burns, decided it was in the best interest of our city to change our zoning code and to limit the hours to 2 o'clock.
Well, the city council just a couple months ago reestablished a license on the west side, and I believe there was some controversy about that has a 5 o'clock license. They reestablished that.
Which?
Okay, wait,
Yeah, it was a
Mr.
club.
Haber?
That 2 ladies owned it, and I don't remember which one it was.
First off, I'd like to...
May I say something after?
Hi, Jack.
Oh.
Okay. First off, I was reminded to add to my disclaimer one name. I did meet with North Miami Police Chief Mark Elias to discuss the subject. Number 2, we've heard a lot of talk from the board. We've heard a lot of talk from staff, from lawyers, from citizens. I think from my point of view, I'd like to know if the applicant wants a minute or so to come up and explain the difference between 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. What is the difference to you in your experience? We're splitting hairs here, guys. We're going between 3, 5, 6. If the applicant wants to tell us the operational reason or the business logic behind it, I'd offer him an opportunity.
I have to speak for my client.
I'd like to say that our board is not to, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Galdos, our board is not to take into consideration economic hardship in granting variances, and that should not be a consideration.
It wasn't an economic question.
That's what they're asking.
More than it was a logic for how they run their business. Why is it that 3 a.m. you can't survive and 6 a.m. you can? That's more the question that I'm trying to get to. If you can explain to us what is the difference in the business.
Okay, first of all, again, the lunch hour is significant. I mean, as Mr. McDermott pointed out, I mean, that's a huge time for a business like this to be open during lunch hour. We're giving that up. So we don't have that now, which makes all the hours that we are open even more significant. Now, for a business like this, they survive on folks who are in the industry, the restaurateurs and all those folks who work till late at night. So people leave work, come out and go have a beer, hang out for a couple hours before they go home. A lot of those folks work late at night. So they go there and that's it. That 1 hour difference is a huge difference. I mean, even 5 o'clock, the hour between 5 and 6 o'clock, believe it or not, is significant. And it's even more significant when you don't have a lunch hour. I mean, we're talking about businesses that are open to 5 o'clock in the city. Those businesses that are open to 5 o'clock they also have a lunch hour. I mean, forget whether it's adult entertainment or not. You've got businesses that are open till 5 o'clock and also have a lunch hour. We don't have a lunch hour.
Just to clarify something on the record, as a rebuttal to that, those businesses are open till 5, but only because they were grandfathered in.
I understand that.
So
I mean, that's
the difference here is that since 2008, anybody wishing to stay open beyond the stated hours in the code, it must be done by variance.
That's what we're here for.
Exactly. But there's a difference. You keep referring to that 5 o'clock businesses. If they were to sell their business tomorrow, they would lose that privilege. They would have to come before the same board and to keep the 5 o'clock. So
I have a question. Let's say we deny them the 6 o'clock. Do they have other option to go back to open earlier instead of earlier than 1 o'clock?
Yeah, the request here is the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages until 6 a.m. Nothing says that they're allowed to open a little bit earlier. However, much was said about why they prefer not to open a little bit earlier.
Can you please?
Did that answer your question? What we're considering here is an extension of sales and consumption of alcoholic beverages till 6 o'clock in the morning.
So, Mr. Gomez, what you're saying is that if we deny them the 6, that they can reestablish the hours that they originally had to serve lunch?
The hours that are permitted right now without a variance is the following: to sales and consumption up until 1:30 a.m. Monday through Friday, 2:30 a.m. Saturdays and Sundays. So they have that. Now, what they're here before this board is to obtain an extension of, say, the 1:30 to 6, and between Saturday and Sunday mornings between 2:30 to be able to continue to sell alcoholic beverages till 6.
Well, I'd much rather have them open late night than all day long. I mean, that is, if they already have the ability to serve during the daylight hours, that's going to have a far greater impact on the schools and the traffic and everything else than being open late night. I mean, if they're able to serve alcohol and lunch during the day, during the day, I mean, that actually, I would think that these people would be here complaining more about that than they would them being open late night. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
I just have to say, okay, go ahead.
Okay, can we give them like 5 o'clock, like the other clubs that's already there? And at least we don't want 6, and they don't want 4. Can we meet somewhere and then?
You can decide on whatever hour you want, and a condition about the time opening can be attached with any type of variance you give, whether it's 15 minutes, 2 hours, or 4 hours, okay? You can attach any condition you like. But I think we should also make it clear, because the code talks about sales and then consumption. Normally you have sales to a certain hour and then you consume for a half hour or more, because you don't want to lump it all together, because there's going to be confusion there, and you don't want to sell somebody a drink at 2 minutes to 3:30 and then yank it away at 3:30. You know what I mean? So the sales would be till 1 hour and the consumption would be a half an hour.
The business would literally have to call what they call a last call, the last call for a sale, and then the consumer is afforded that extra half hour to consume the alcoholic beverage just purchased.
Guys,
so,
may I please?
Okay. Can I make a motion for 5 and then make sure for the consumption, and then
they haven't agreed to it. Let Mr. Haber say something.
I'd like to make a motion to end the sales at 5.
Yeah.
And let the consumption go through 5:30 a.m. and give them a 6-month review period where they can come back to the board and ask for later hours, because they do have competitors that are nearby, and I think it's only fair to them, if they have a good track record, that we should at least grant them and afford them 5 a.m. consumption, 5:30 a.m. cutoff, close, and after 6 months, come back to the board and ask for 6 a.m. And that's my motion.
I second that motion.
Of course, if Mr. Cazot is accepting of the motion.
The only thing that we would request, the only thing we would request is that, and it's a request, that we be able to open till 6 at least on Saturday and Sunday. I'm sorry, Friday and Saturday.
I have no problem with that, and I would amend the motion if somebody will second it.
Is that Saturday and Sunday morning?
I'm sorry.
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, Friday and Saturday
Friday,
until
so
5
Saturday.
a.m. last call,
That would
6
be
a.m. close.
Saturday, for clarification, that would be Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday morning. and
Morning.
Sunday
Yeah, because you're actually closing the following day,
Yeah.
that morning.
Yeah.
And could I also have clarification on what you said about the 6 months? Does that mean you're only giving them the variance till 6 months, or could you clarify?
We're giving them the variance, and we're affording them the opportunity in 6 months to come back
So we
and
can
present
reevaluate.
to the board that they're good community business, good citizens, good neighbors, and that they have no issues with any of the things that the public brought up that they're concerned with. And then they could ask for the 6 a.m. license, just like the other businesses, and be competitive in their industry, and to be fair to them.
And what about the rest of the businesses that are going to be in our city that everybody else is going to want to
There-
now open until 6 a.m.?
There are 4 of them.
You're creating a
If they
terrible
want to stay
precedent.
open later, they should ask us.
You're creating.
I would like for.
Ms. Wait, excuse me.
The motion.
We're allowed. You may have a motion, but we're allowed to discuss the issue. Ms. Tundro?
I would like for him to repeat his motion. I want to make sure that I do understand what we are going to vote on.
My motion particularly was to allow them during the week to stop serving alcohol at 5 a.m., which means that they'll close at 5:30. And then on the weekends, stop serving alcohol at 5:30 and closing at 6 a.m. And this is in perpetuity. However, after 6 months, we invite them back to review any kind of statistics, good neighbor facts, and to review their performance in order for them to have an opportunity to ask for the full 6 a.m. 7 days a week like their competitors.
Is this going to be opening the hours beginning at 4 o'clock?
Yes, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, if they agree.
I just realized they're not going to open right after we're done here tonight. I mean, they've got to do a build out and all. That's going to take
Of
almost
course,
a year. So
a
this
year.
is going to be from the time of certificate of use and then 6.
I would, yes, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
from the time of the
Opening.
CO.
From the opening. Okay.
For 6 months, and then they could come back and ask, based on their performance, for another variance.
I just wanted to clarify that. So
If you like those terms.
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to just to solidify the request in your
Thank you.
motion. You're actually not abiding by staff's recommendation to deny. You're attaching conditions for approval. And can you please articulate for the record at least 4 of the 6 standards for which you basically have found in compliance to reach your motion?
You can't.
If you give me a minute, I will.
Absolutely. Thank you. And so, for the record, do you, can you live with
We
the
can agree,
conditions
yes. We can
that
agree
were
with those
just
conditions,
imposed?
yes.
Okay, thank you. That's affirmative.
Are you, the purpose of this is because why are you asking for the
Well,
variance?
the purpose of this is because the application was to allow sales and consumption until 6 a.m.
Mhm.
That was staff's recommendation to deny. And basically, you have denied but modified it so that actually you've accepted it by indicating that you're, for 6 months, the applicant may sell on 2 days up until 6 a.m., which is,
5:30.
5:30.
was it 5:30?
Yes.
And then close at 6.
Yes.
Sell until 5:30, close at 6.
Okay, so sales of alcoholic beverages until 5:30 a.m.,
Yes.
Saturdays and Sundays.
Right.
Sunday morning, okay, which that decision was contrary to, was not what staff recommended?
I'm not agreeing with staff's.
Okay,
I'm
thank
not
you.
agreeing with the, with what they asked for.
Right.
So I'm trying to negotiate this to what I feel is in
Understood.
best interest midway.
Understood. And if you could just come up with at least 4 or of the 6,
Yeah, I believe
or
that,
all 6.
number 3, 4, 5, and 6. I don't necessarily agree with the staff's reasoning on these issues.
And that would be, number 1, special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, and so forth and so on.
The 4 of the 6 that I'm not agreeing with staff recommendation on are
4,
number
5.
3, the variance maintains basic intent, which I believe it does. Number 4, the literal interpretation of the provisions would deprive applicants of the rights. Number 5, the variance requested is the minimum variance that will make it possible for the use.
And number 6.
And number 6, the granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the LDRs.
Okay, and the 4 p.m. condition again, is that for, they cannot be open until 4 p.m. or they cannot sell alcohol until 4 p.m.?
I don't believe they should open. I think they're agreeing not to open until 4 p.m., excuse me.
3 p.m. is what we said.
3.
4.
Says 3:30.
There's some confusion about the 3 to 4 p.m.
And number 3
Opening at
in your
4
proposed
o'clock.
days and hours indicates
I
4
believe
p.m.
they agreed to open at 4 p.m. in the afternoon.
It says 4 p.m. to 6
Okay,
a.m.
I understand what
and 1 p.m. to 6 a.m.
All right. The reason, I'm sorry, I understand what happened here. The reason we had originally asked for 4 was, and this happened the last meeting also, is there was some confusion in talking to Councilman Galvin what time he wanted us open. We clarified it this week. We spoke to him and said, is it 3? Because that was a question that was asked last time. Are we opening at 3 or are we opening at 4? What he told us was that he wanted us open at 3, not 4.
No, from what
I
you said-
disagree.
No, from what you said earlier, was that you agreed to not to have any sexual signs or any signs that would give any hint of what's going on in there. You're talking about lighting over there. You said that you would be closed between the hours of 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Right. We'd be closed from 7 to 3, which means we're opening at 3.
I
So
believe it
Monday
was
through
4
Friday.
because Mr. Galvin was concerned since you are
We spoke
right.
to him.
You spoke to him.
We spoke to
Well,
him. I
it
mean,
was
I'm
right-
telling you as an attorney on the
Okay.
record, we spoke to him this week, and because this issue came
Well,
up
you're
last
right
time.
down the street from a high school and junior high, and the application here says 4 o'clock.
I understand that, and I'm telling you, the reason it says 4 is because that's what we believe that Councilman Galvin said. You all brought it up the last time.
Okay, but
whether
you're
it was
getting
3 or
you're getting a
4.
really big extension here, and I think you should honor the 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
We'll open at 4. That's fine.
That's more than
4 o'clock,
generous.
yeah.
I'd like
4
to
o'clock.
see if there's a second.
Yeah, I did second.
4 p.m.
You want to do a roll call, Ms. Martin?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I forget, do I call the people that make the motion? Yeah, I still call them, right?
Everybody.
Oh, well, I don't normally do.
Call everybody.
It's got me all
You need to call
flustered.
everybody.
Okay, Ms. Keys?
No, because I think staff has adequately proved all of the LDR requirements with the exception possibly of a special circumstance because their hours are limited. But the rest of your analysis I am in agreement with, so no.
Ms. Philippe?
No, I can't support this one.
Mr. Haber?
Yes.
Mr. Marty?
Yes.
Ms. Tondreau?
No.
Mr. Mondesir?
No.
That fails 4-2.
Where do we go from here? The motion to adjust the hours as per the motion failed. So where do we go from here?
Well, I
Can I-
changed it so it's not actually this motion now.
Can I-
Technically, it's a
But
new
you
one.
made your motion has failed.
Right.
So
it either stands or you're free to come up with a different, negotiate a different hour scheme. It's up to you all.
A different
and
It
I
will
motion.
not, it will not be, it will not be obviously the one that was just.
We
Right.
can make another motion.
Well,
Yes.
you know, I would suggest
Yes.
that for the first 6
Let
months,
me,
they would go ahead and do it
let's,
on Fridays,
Excuse me,
Saturdays, and
Ms. Sandra
Sundays.
speaking.
It would make more sense than 7 days a week.
You can negotiate, as long as it's
That
acceptable.
is my
yeah,
recommendation.
you can negotiate a different set of hours. One was proposed, it was voted down. You can negotiate a different set of hours. And it's up to the applicant. Basically, it's up to you all and the applicant to accept.
can I, how about if we said, from 4 to 5, and then come back in 6 months? I mean, that
That's
simplifies
about
it.
what we just did.
No, it's
We
not.
did 4 to 5 and we did 4 to 5:30.
No, well, no, it's
4 to 5,
did
no,
4 to 5,
the last
7
call
days
is
a
at
week.
5 and they stop at
5:30,
5:30. That's what just,
I mean, since
we
we
just
already-
voted on.
listen,
That's what we
Excuse,
just
wait,
voted on.
wait, let's
Since
do
we
it one at a
already
time.
have businesses that are open in the city, yeah, since we already have businesses in the city and surrounding us who are open to 5 and 6.
Which are grandfathered in.
Okay, well, they may be grandfathered in, but that doesn't mean the other cities around us aren't grandfathered in. Trying to make it simple, let's at least say 5, because that seems to be where everybody else is. So we'll say 4 in the afternoon, and so to cooperate with Councilman Galvin. Okay, even though the attorney said 3, just say 4 to 5 without getting fancy, and say
That's
come
what we
back in
just
6
did.
months.
That's what
Yeah.
you just did. You
Yeah.
did 5.
No.
Yes, we
What-
did.
what was-
Does someone want to?
5:30.
5
excuse
to
me,
stop
Ms. Martin,
selling.
what was,
5:30
It was,
for them to
yes,
close.
sales from 4 to
Yes.
5, and then from 4 to
5:30
5:30 on
weekend.
Saturday and Sunday with consumption till 6.
Yeah.
how about,
May-
how
So
about
it
4
was
to...
till 5 and
Madam Chair.
5:30.
Madam Chair,
Mr.
if I may.
Montezer.
Let's give them a chance.
Let
Mr.
Montezer
Cazzo.
has the floor.
I have a question. Basically, we're looking at two options here. You guys can either extend the hours to 6 a.m. or you can go back on what was discussed with the council and open at 7 a.m. I suppose, yeah. Because I'm getting the sense that there are some board members here who don't want to extend the hours, and there are some that do.
My
So
thought, my
it's-
thought, yeah,
That's
a small extension, but 6 o'clock, having people on the street is just not doing a service to our citizens who are, our early citizens are out there going to work. We don't need people that have been drinking all night on the street, and I want to protect our citizens.
Well,
So
but
May-
the problem is, we're going to have police there all the time.
they
you
are
know-
not going, they are not going to be there, they are only in the parking lot, they're not going to be
Well,
there after
Inside
the
the
people
building.
leave the facilities.
well, they're going to be monitoring who comes and goes on the outside. So
Why
They're
can't
not doing
we go-
breathalyzers. They're
Why
not-
can't we go for them to serve
Ma-
until 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays?
That's what I just asked for.
May I
Ms.
make
Philippe?
a suggestion?
No, but
May
she's
I-
saying, I
Wait,
think
wait,
she's
wait,
saying
no.
only Friday and
Excuse me,
Saturday.
board, we have to do it one at a time, and we're not allowed to have any conversation that is not in the public, please.
May I?
I know
make
you're all new
this
and-
suggestion. This is me. I would suggest the 3 a.m. for the weekdays. That means Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. No, I will even do Sunday, because when you're closing the next morning, then you're into a weekday, which is a school day. So, can you guys hear me? So, I would propose the 3 a.m. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we'll go to 5 on Friday, Saturday, which
We can start
doesn't
on
go
Thursdays.
into a weekday.
The weekend starts on Thursdays.
Would you include to that the 6-month review period? that
Yes.
was originally
Yes. And after 6 months,
with
they
a
can come
6-month
back
review period.
with the blessing of the chief.
Okay, is that with,
That's
for clarification, okay.
Mhm.
Sales until 3, consumption until 3:30.
mm-hmm.
On
Sunday.
Monday morning, don't forget, it's
Yeah.
3 a.m.
Okay.
Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, and Friday morning. Okay? And then on Saturday morning and Sunday morning, sales until 5 with consumption till 5:30.
With the 6 months review.
And with a 4 p.m. 4 p.m. in the afternoon opening.
I can't change that because I believe that that's something that's moot because they made a decision with the board, with the council.
Rosalind, would you consider giving him an extra hour during the week just to be competitive?
Thursday.
4 instead of 3.
Please. I've spoken to the microphone. I think that
I would
it's
second your motion.
The other,
I would second your motion at, I would pass the gavel if I had one, and second your motion for 3 o'clock during the week.
It is only 6 months. After 6 months, they can come back.
Can I comment?
yes.
Okay, I don't think it's fair to the business.
No.
Because at 3 p.m., that's time people go to club. If you don't go to club, you don't go to club. But if they open a club at 3 a.m., that's time people getting in.
During the week?
Yes.
The competition.
As a business person, I can understand someone who invests money.
Well, we have a motion, we have a
Do we
second.
either give them a license to be in the city or we don't?
Do we want to take a roll call on the motion?
Ms. Keys,
Yes.
Ms. Philippe,
Yes.
Mr. Haber,
No.
Mr. Marty,
No.
Ms. Tondreau,
Yes.
Mr. Mondesir.
No.
That's tie vote. That's
Okay,
a
so the
fail,
motion
too.
fails.
Mr. McDermott.
Oh,
is
Mr.
in-
McDermott did not.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mr. McDermott.
No.
So,
Motion it was not
we need
approved.
at least, can we come to an
Can
agreement?
I make a, wait a minute, can I?
Wait, please. Mr. Galdos, where are we? We're still negotiating here?
You can negotiate or continue with the agenda, which would be, we're approaching an adjournment. So, I mean, that's up to you all.
Well,
I
would
don't know
like-
if
Excuse
the
me, Mr.
applicant
Guzzo?
wishes to speak on this matter.
And you didn't agree to our motion anyway, so.
I'm not sure what everyone's concerns are. I mean, there
Okay.
seems to be different
Can I-
concerns for
can I
each board
listen-
member. So, in order to
Just
try to
would you
come up
wait
with
till
something
Mr.
that
Guzzo
works,
finishes, please, one at a time.
in order to know, what the concerns are, I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, there's some of you want us to be open to 5.
Do you want to take maybe perhaps a recess, a
Can we-
5-minute recess, so people can have an opportunity
No,
to
because-
collate their
No,
thoughts?
no, because a recess means we're not allowed to speak amongst ourselves, so there's no sense in doing a recess. We're going to do this till we get it.
Let's talk it in the open.
And I just missed, I was supposed to be on radio at 9.
Yeah, we need to-
Mr. McDermott, you had something to say.
Yeah, I just want to modify Ms. Philippe's motion.
And then making a new motion.
Okay, making a new motion that we do, rather than 3, we do till 4, okay? And sales to 4:30 on those days, and then Friday and Saturday, we go to 5 with sales to 5:30, and then with the 6 months.
I think he means consumption.
Yeah, you
consumption.
misspoke. You mean 4, sales till 4, consumption till 4:30 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Right.
And sales until 5, consumption until 5:30
Mr. Cazot, would you?
on
Excuse me,
Saturday.
Mr. Haber, you're out of order, please.
On Saturday and Sunday morning,
Right.
right? Okay, for a period of 6 months.
Yeah.
And with an opening of no earlier than 4 p.m.
Right.
Okay, do we have a second on that motion? Oh, well, do we have a second?
I'll second it if Mr. Cazot is good with it.
Mr. Guzzo?
My client's whispering in my ear, and he's begging me. He's asking me to beg you. He's asking me to beg you guys. I mean, for the survival of his business. I mean, it makes no sense to approve us and then have us die on the vine. I mean,
You're welcome to come back 6 months. In 6 months.
They're telling we won't make it to the 6 months. I mean, understand we're not having a lunch crowd at all. I mean, if we had the lunch crowd, maybe we could. But just you're
You're getting a 3-hour extension during the week and about a.
where most of the
you're
people
getting-
come at 5 and 6 in the morning. I mean, the 4 o'clock, I mean, no one's coming. All those folks that we're talking about that are going to come, who are in the industry, they show up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I mean, so 3, 4, that hour, I mean, believe it or not, I mean, he's begging me, he's asking me to beg you that it does make that big a difference.
And again, you were willing to open without liquor altogether. You told this board, when you asked for the exception, that you were ready to open and you wanted it without liquor. So this is not saying you.
That was when we had the first discussion with the council, and the discussions with the council was that we were going to open from 7 in the morning. We were going to have a big lunch, and we were going to be open till in the evening. They were the ones that asked us not to be open during the school hours. So you're going back to the very beginning of the discussion and not talking at all about what the concessions were that we made.
You've asked for later, and we've already voted against that.
I think that one of the board members did not understand my motion. Did you understand my motion?
Mr. Haber, which one? Please, Ms. Philippe.
What is the gentleman's name again? I'm sorry. Your client, Mr. Cuzzo?
David.
David, please. We're asking 6 months review. We don't want to belabor this. It's 6 months. You have to understand, we want you here as a business, but we also don't want the residents of North Miami to think that we don't give a hoot about what they feel. Okay? Take this, and 6 months down the road, come back and with glorious reports, and then we could say, oh yeah, they can even open till 7, 8, or never close. I don't know. But I don't.
Will you put that in writing?
No, not in. Just joking. I don't pretend to understand this business. You may know, but you have to understand that we've got you and we've got the resident of North Miami to think about.
I know the hours seem trivial.
I know.
I know the hours seem trivial, but.
And can you please state your name and address for the record? Thank you.
David, 1172 South Dixie Highway, Miami, Florida.
Thank you.
Okay, the hours seem trivial now, where we're just picking kind of out of a hat, but there's a big part of our industry is between 4 and 6, and a lot of our competitors would attest to that. You'll see that their clubs are crowded. When we were in Sunny Isles, we were there for like 15 years, and in those 2 hours, you get a huge rush from people that are in the business. So I was just concerned if we have to wait those 6 months that we might not make it, so it'd be a huge investment, and then we'd be on shaky
Again,
grounds.
We're not making decisions based on economics. We're not supposed to. So,
well,
I'd like to make a motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
There is a motion and a second.
I think they do. Excuse me, Ms. Martin, could you please read the motion on the table?
Okay, it's a motion to allow alcoholic beverage sales until 4 a.m. on Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, and Friday morning, with consumption until 4:30. And then to allow sales until 5 a.m. with consumption until 5:30 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday mornings, with an option for them to come back if they request to be reviewed in 6 months, and with a condition that they not open, that the earliest opening time is 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Is that just during the week or on weekends too?
Weekends were
No.
1 p.m.
Weekends are
They're
1
established
p.m.?
The weekends
Yeah, weekend.
was 5.
No, weekends.
Weekends were early.
No, I
It's
mean
only
the
during the
afternoon.
school days.
The afternoon.
It's only during the school days.
Well, yeah, they were getting 1 o'clock on
Okay.
Saturday and Sunday.
So they could open 1 p.m. on Saturday
Right.
and Sunday.
Yeah, there's no school.
That's correct. Can you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Cazzo, can you survive with that?
Roll call.
Can I just ask one thing? Can we make it 3 months to come back?
No, because 3 months you will not, my opinion is 3 months you will not have even been started. Your business,
No, I'm saying once we've started. I mean, it's
3 months from
3
opening.
months from opening.
3 months
We come
from
back
opening.
with
I think
months and not-
that's too
90
soon.
days.
I think that's too
90
soon.
days.
90 days is
90
good.
days, yes.
Mr. McDermott, you own the motion. Do you desire to amend that motion?
Ms. Jean-Philippe.
Yes.
McDermott.
It would also coincide with the police officers. The police
Yeah,
officers that make a
90 days.
decision in 90 days also whether we're...
Yeah.
So the only amendment to your original motion is that they're to come back, the hours are the same, as mentioned, and they are to come back 3 months from opening as opposed to 6 months.
They may come back. They don't have to.
Yeah.
Right,
No.
yeah, if they want an
It's at
extension, they
their
have to come back.
expense,
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to reapply to
Right,
the board.
okay. Is that
That's-
agreeable
yes,
to you?
that's agreeable.
Also, please, do not forget to indicate your findings, as Mr. Haber did earlier, at least for the 6 standards.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Can the motion
Oh,
be
does he
read?
have to-
You need, sir, again, your standards to justify your motion before this board, for the 6 standards.
4 to 6, the literal interpretation of the provisions?
Do we have to do that during the motion?
I don't think we have to do that during the motion.
You can vote on it, but I will need these findings.
Are you going by
based-
with Mr. Haber's
Yeah.
previous, just state as previously stated?
Yeah, as previously stated by Mr. Haber.
Which were number 3, 4, 5, and 6. Thank you.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Okay.
Roll call.
Ms. Keys,
No, for the same reasons.
Ms. Philippe,
Yes.
Mr. Haber,
Yes.
Mr. Marty,
Yes.
Ms. Tondreau,
Yes.
Mr. Mondesir,
No.
Mr. McDermott.
Yes.
Okay, that passes.
Okay, I guess for the same reasons, so would you restate, I believe the hours Monday through Friday are 4 o'clock, and the closing during the week is what time? 4? I mean, that's,
Well,
no, the consumption
consumption
of alcohol. No, the
till-
sales of alcohol stops.
Yes, sales till 4 with consumption until 4:30.
And on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, the opening
Uh,
hours are 1, and the sale of alcohol
Is
is...
till 5 with consumption until 5:30.
Okay, thank you.
With a 3-month review, for if the
3-month
applicant
review.
desires an expansion from those hours.
Okay, very good. Okay, do we have any old business?
Motion to dismiss.
Excuse me,
No,
we're not
no.
through with our agenda, Mr. Haber. Please. Any old business?
No,
Any new business?
no.
I would like to welcome our new members to the board, Ms. Tondreau and Mr. Mondesir.
Thank you.
And
Welcome.
Mr. McDermott. Thank you. And great first meeting, and you may now make your motion, Mr. Haber.
Motion to dismiss, thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Disapprove.
Aye.
Stay here. We love you.